to damage the integrity of photography than anyone else in the world. And I hear this stuff quite a bit, actually. You think, what is this horrible thing that I'm doing? Well, I love to use rich, vibrant colors in my photos, and I also love post-processing my photos. I think it's great fun. It just speaks to me. It feels right. It feels beautiful, because sometimes I'm in these beautiful places, these interesting places, and I take the photo and it just comes out looking blah. Not all the time, but a lot of times it's just blah. Like, that's not how it felt when I was there. So I started working on many techniques that involve a lot of post-processing, and I shared these techniques with the world. And 6-7 years ago when I started the blog, I started doing this stuff immediately. Nowadays, it's very common for photographers to share their techniques, but back then it wasn't. It was quite wrong in a lot of ways, especially a lot of old school photographers felt like I was really doing something evil by sharing the techniques. Or even worse, there's a lot of old school photographers who think that post-processing is somehow evil or that it's impure. I think that's ridiculous. I think there's nothing impure about any creative process. And on the other side of it, if they like to use film and they like to use lights and this sort of stuff, I have no problem with them. But they seem to have not all of them, seem to have a real problem with this. And the more that I get behind this stuff and the more I believe in it, the angrier and angrier it makes them. And so this list of enemies just continues to grow. Because I don't back down. So what if I like to use rich colors and like to post-process? I don't care. This is me, right? This is just sort of the artistic expression in my soul, and I would never have to apologize to that, it seems. So as you continue through your own uniqueness, and as you find different things inside of you and share them, chances are that this will become more and more solidified over time. And if it's different than the crowd, which you actually do want it to be, you don't want it to be different for the sake of being different. You want it to be different for the sake of feeling right. This is sort of the natural vibration that makes sense to you, that speaks to you. As you start to take this coal and make it into a diamond, you may become more and more pronounced and more outspoken about the way you feel about something. You'll end up accumulating enemies, but that only means that you're doing something interesting. Don't worry about what your peers think about you. I notice this is a big problem, especially with photographers. This is a group that I end up hanging out with. I love my photographer friends. We are peers and we hang out, we talk about techniques and this sort of thing. But one thing I notice about photographers is they spend way too long trying to impress other photographers. And I have a feeling it's this way with many other peer groups too, that peer groups spend too long trying to impress one another within the peer group. Well, I think it's great to hang out with them and compare notes and stuff, but your audience should always be outside of your peer group. And in doing this, you may end up making a few enemies from within your peer group, but don't worry about it. It's not the end of the world. All right? So I'll kind of end here with this picture of this path.